Welcome back. I'm your host, Michael Vilardo, co-founder and CEO of Subject, and we have a special episode today. On the subject is all about highlighting the most innovative educators in the United States and beyond. We have admiration to be able to build a globally iconic education brand one day. But for now, we're in beautiful Michigan with an incredible leader who's been all over the place in incredible institutions like Eastern Michigan, Grand Valley State, and Michigan State, Go Green. But now she instructs and helps kids 14 to 21 be able to finish high school and be able to have an incredible success in the adult working world. We're so thankful to have her here today. Lynne Nowicki, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, this is so fun. It's so exciting. And thank you again. I always love to start with the moment of gratitude. Thank you for everything you've done for students over the course of your career. Teachers are the heroes of society. Admins are helping us be able to scale those teachers, and what you've been able to do in all your roles is really admirable. So thank you so much. What do you think it is about education that drew you to helping students?
I don't know that I ever knew anything but being a teacher. I played teacher as a kid all the way going through, and I carried around my mom's college books pretending to go to college when I was a little kid. So I think it was always sort of innate. I think the best teachers and the people who make it the longest are the ones who don't know anything different.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And when you think about coming to Success Virtual Learning School, like, where do you see the innovation that you have been able to lead the way in? Because you were ahead of the game when it came to virtual education. You really leaned into it pre-COVID. How were you able to see the trend and understand, hey, I want to be a part of this organization?
Yeah, I quite sincerely didn't really know what I was getting into. I'm not going to pretend, but it has been one of the best experiences of my life. It's been the greatest opportunity to sort of help the lost kids and create and make a difference for them, and really truly help kids who just don't fit the mold or the square box that is traditional public school, and give them some other kind of opportunity. We've had a lot of success, and pun intended. And we are really truly a leader in Michigan in the online learning atmosphere.
Well, so I love that you broke it down that way. I would love to dive in even further on that. Traditional education, this is something deeply passionate about, and this is what we're here on the subject for, talk about innovation. Now, traditional education has been relatively similar to what it was in the mid-1800s, where we expect kids to be able to sit at a desk all day for 8+ hours and listen to an instructor. And if you don't, then shame on you, and you're not going to be successful in this world. You're not going to be able to pass high school, go to a great college. That means you're not going to be successful. So unfair, and that does not appreciate the nuances in childhood. What if you grow up in a 1-bedroom apartment with 5 relatives around you, and you have no Wi-Fi, and you don't have a very supportive home? How are you going to be successful? And we, as educators, have to have passion to help every single student. And so when you talk about helping students, especially when you talked about your program goes all the way up to 21, which I thought was really interesting, how is your program able to connect with these students better than their traditional, their previous institution?
So one of the things that we really truly pride ourselves on is that we do school different, and we let you sort of do it your way, right?
That.
So mostly, we have a few very strict expectations from our kids that are pretty minor. And then they have freedom to do school when they want to. So our kids are able to work during the day instead of at night, or do other things. I graduated an elite hockey player, several years ago because it worked for him, right? Yeah. He was failing in every school he was in because he was traveling all the time.
Yep.
And so being able to take school on the road with him made him very successful at what he needed to be great, right? So I think just allowing kids to have that freedom and to consistently stay in the mindset that our school is different, right? And I talk to my team about that a lot, that, we can't say we're different and then not be different. We have to do what we say. And we've developed some really good tools and some really good strategies to connect with our kids and make sure that they understand the importance of their commitment, but also know that they have some freedoms to do what they need to do outside of.
So when you talk about being able to lean into being different, that's beautiful. I love that. And that's something that we want to own as well. You always want to be able to be comfortable having disagreement. You don't need everyone to love you. You need the people who use your product to love you.
Exactly.
And so I think that's something really important, that, innovation it takes being willing to be disagreeable to be able to innovate truly. Where do you see education going? What are you really passionate about? What would you love to see your program look like in 10 years?
I really think that we're going to continue to see the changes in education. I don't think what we are used to is going to be firm, even though lots of policymakers are trying to keep us in that box. I think the pushback is pretty big from families and kids and from educators that are innovating and I think too, we hear educators in the past really haven't had the time to be advocates for what they need to do. But I think we're seeing a shift in that too, where
Yeah.
educators are putting down their teaching hat to be an advocate and be able to speak out about the things that schools need. And I think that's an important part of our careers facet that we really haven't had before. And so I think just continuing to every day get a little bit better, right? We're sort of
Yes,
like
get better every day.
AI, right?
Yeah,
Today
yes.
is the worst version of us and
Yes,
tomorrow is better, right?
yes. I love that. I always say that, like, we're getting better every day, and it's the worst version of ourselves. Where do you see the biggest change need to take place in traditional education?
I think I see our young people, the young teachers, and the very young millennials and the Gen Z.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's funny about this to me is school did exactly what the laws wanted it to do. And now people are bent out of shape.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Well said.
I mean, we passed laws that said we need to teach kids to be kind. We need to teach kids to think. We need to teach kids to be critical thinkers and to push back. We need kids to understand that they have rights and that they can push back against adults. And now that they're doing that, they're like, what? Staunch those rights?
Yep.
Nope. Don't do that. So I think we really have to be thankful to the Gen Zers.
Well,
And
it's
to
a
the
great
millennials.
generation. Yeah,
Yeah.
Gen Z is great, and I love their empathy.
Yeah. And that's part of the training they received in school, following the laws and the new curriculums that have been adopted
Yeah.
and put in place, right? So I think we're going to continue to see that change as these young people come out of school and move into this. And also, too, they're moving into advocacy at a much larger rate than any generation before them, which is a huge piece for us because, like, my generation of educators are tired, right?
Mhm.
So we are definitely in need of those kids who are willing to set maybe that hat aside for a while and advocate for what kids really need.
Yeah, no, I think advocacy is so powerful, and I'm really excited to see more and more, students graduate and become teachers because, they've grown up with Netflix, they've grown up with Instagram, they've grown up with TikTok. They demand a different way to learn. They demand better
Yes.
virtual tools. And, you think about some of the older tools like, Ingenuity or Apex. When did you first hear of those tools, and what was your experience with them?
So we actually are currently in use with Ingenuity.
Oh, okay.
And our curriculum is undergoing assessment this year
Yeah.
for a change. And Ingenuity has its strengths, right? And some of these others, Apex and those, they all have their strengths. But I think the big issue that I see is that they're just not relatable for kids, right? So the kids are like, I just can't focus, or I just can't these videos. And I think there is also a secondary problem with those resources in the fact that kids are under the impression that because now their school is online, that they should just be able to do like click buttons and they shouldn't have to do other things
Like click for credit.
solve math problems
Yeah.
or, think through and develop the essay before they
Yeah.
click and send. Right. And I think that's part of the teaching that has to still happen in the online environment. Right. So can online, a robot be a teacher? I don't think so. I think there still is a requirement for somebody to be there to support kids and to teach with compassion, right? But I think, the important thing is for us to meet kids where they're at. And I don't know that all resources are able to do that any longer,
Yeah.
including the teachers in the buildings.
1,000,000%. And I completely agree with you. And that's why it's so special to have you here today, because the in-person connection it's different. You need to be able to have some type of emotional rapport with people. And so
Yeah.
that's our whole approach is, hey, it's proven statistically over many decades that one-on-one tutoring is the most impactful part of a student journey by far. But not everyone can afford one-on-one tutoring. And when you're teaching a class of 30, 40, 50 to 1 student to teacher ratio, there's no chance that you can get one-on-one time with a student. But if you could develop a really engaging video first curriculum that looks like what the students have grown up with, and that's our mission, then that teacher can become the one-on-one tutor or small group instructor of sorts and have that time with the students. And so we're all about interpersonal connections and building meaningful relationships. And I think the one piece that we'd love to be able to wrap this up with is if you were to be able to give your 22, 23-year-old self teaching for the first time advice and looking back at it, what would you tell the young teachers out there?
Man,
It's a good question. It helps us retrospect a bit. Like, hey, really what would we do if we were to look back?
So to be fair, I'm a second career teacher. So
oh, congratulations.
Thank
Beautiful.
you.
So what would you tell someone who's going to make that pivot? If you just speak in that camera and say, hey, you may not be happy in your current career, you should try teaching because it will change so many young people's lives. How would you go about doing that second career switch again?
I can tell you, I made the second career switch because I couldn't be successful in the job I was in because my heart was in teaching. And so I would tell you first, if you've grown up knowing that this is where you should be, find a way to do it because you're going to make a difference. And the next thing I would say is really, truly have passion and understand kids are the same. All kids are the same. It doesn't matter what city they live in, what their socioeconomic status is, what their race or what their gender is. None of those things matter. Kids are truly kids, and circumstances impact who they are and how they behave and how they respond. And if you can isolate those things and remember to just meet kids as kids, you're going to find much more success and really truly make a difference for kids in general, particularly the ones that you're trying to educate.
That was incredibly beautiful. I'm really inspired, and I really appreciate everything that you really deeply care. It's a genuine mission, and I'm honored to be able to share the same room with you today. And where can we find you on social for the fans out there? Lynne Nowicki, where can we find you on social? LinkedIn, Twitter, what do you like?
So I have those things. I'm not very good at social, but
this podcast might blow up. You might.
So I do have Twitter, I do have LinkedIn, I do have TikTok, I do have Instagram, and most likely you're going to find me under Nowicki. That's
Nowicki. You can find it here first. Nowicki. LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. What's your favorite one of all those?
I don't know. I TikTok quite a bit. I don't make as many videos as I watch, but
I love watching the videos. Very engaging.
Yeah, but I don't know. I use them all sort of the same.
Yeah.
I work 70 hours a week. So
I love it. Look, the passion. See, that's what it's all about. You work, and if you find passion in your work, working 70 hours a week is much easier than working 20 hours a week on something you hate.
Oh, for sure.
It's not even close. And that's what I always try to tell young people is like, hey, find something that you enjoy working, like we say, 60 plus hours a week at a subject. And trust me, if you work 20 hours doing something you hate, it's way slower pace. So, but we're so thankful for Lynne joining us today. This is another incredible episode of On the Subject. You can find her on social, and we're so indebted and grateful for everything you're doing to help students. And we're really excited to be able to learn more part of your journey next time we talk. Thank you for having us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.